Per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. It is Wednesday. Let's take a look at some altcoins, some altcoin charts. Before I ever look at alts for my own trading, I always need to have some viewpoint on arguably markets that move alts. You need to know and have an opinion on Bitcoin most of the time to understand what alts are doing, because if Bitcoin is collapsing, alts probably aren't going to do well. If Bitcoin is parabolic, alts may do well. They certainly will underperform Bitcoin. And ultimately, alts tend to do best post-Bitcoin move up when Bitcoin is consolidating or range bound. It's also obviously a good idea to know what legacy is doing, because legacy tends to drive the world, drive Bitcoins some of the time, most of the time. Anyway, so we'll take a look at some of that stuff. Starting with dominance, which is just a good gauge. Broad strokes, right? Am I going to make any trading decisions solely off this? No, but it's going to give me a lens with which I can view the other markets here that says Bitcoin is very strong relative to alts still making its way through that weekly cloud. And this tells me Bitcoin's the place to be. I don't have to short alts directly. It's just saying, look, you probably want to be denominated into Bitcoin here. Maybe let some off the gas if dominance gets closer to 60%. But we are pretty far away from that as of now. Stablecoin issuance remains flat for the most part. Maybe a new all-time high in Tether circulating supply. It's hard to know. Sometimes this is a USD conversion, so it's calculating Tether at 1.005 times Tether circulating supply, whatever, something like that. But great for Tether, not so great for USDC. Silver lining here for USDC is it's remained flat. And again, if USDC isn't seeing excitement, it isn't seeing flows coming to the table, DeFi is probably going to do worse. Alts on DeFi are probably going to do worse. Yields are probably low. Yields relative to legacy yields are probably low, right? There's probably an imbalance there. USDC as a rough proxy has thus far told you basically the state of DeFi broadly. So until that picks up, it's easier for me to just ignore DeFi altogether for the most part. Looking at total market cap of alts, we still are grinding inside of this consolidation zone, which for I don't even know how many months at this point has been my ignore level. The market is pretty clear in showing support, resistance, and now you're in the range, right? Again, if I'm here for the big trades, if I'm here for the trend, this is not my cup of tea. So I will have a very light touch on alts here, extremely low exposure to alts, because I know it's just kind of dead money. It's not doing anything broadly for the most part, especially on the index. Legacy might be a stock picker's game versus a ETF basket game right now. And alts are certainly an alt picker's game rather than a index game. Index continues to just range sideways here. So thus far, we're kind of 0 for 3 on should I be allocated in a big way to alts right now. Me personally, right? I don't care what you do. I'm just saying, for me, that's what I look at. It's also worth having an opinion on what's moving legacy markets. NVIDIA with AI mania comes top of mind, right? And I don't have to trade this directly, but it's important to get a heads up if NVIDIA is potentially leaning bearish, which to me it is. It's got a mix of head and shoulders, ascending, broadening wedge, pretty big unfilled gap. If the legacy indices get angry, is it likely for alts to do well in that period? Probably not, right? Worth having an opinion there. Obviously, Bitcoin has done decently well, even post fake news ETF. We are still in this limbo period of potential multi-month top here with the head and shoulders. This could also probably be measured as a diamond top. So we'll see, but we do not want anything below 25. If Bitcoin goes below 25, alts probably don't do so well. So again, it's important to have some opinion there. This is DXY with Crypto Cloud, because I'm bad at switching those, but DXY coming off a hot 14 weeks or whatever it was, potentially looked to be topping. But if dollar strength goes above 107, you're negating a potential reversal pattern here, which suggests strength. Do alts do well in the face of DXY strength? They do not. The bond market has been extremely volatile. This is TLT, the long bond. Rates continue to go higher. TLT continues to go lower. We basically what I'm saying with all this stuff is we need somewhat of a stable footing for alts to do well. That's not even considering, consumer discretionary spending or the gambling stack, whatever, right? The financial world is still trying to get its ish together in a lot of ways. So I think it's going to be hard for alts to do well broadly. Now, on the Bitcoin side, we have faded this Euro USD correlation. We've clearly gone in a different direction there. We even briefly went in a different direction than gold. Gold has since picked up after the breakout of war in the Middle East. If anything, gold is recoupling to Bitcoin here, but there's just a lot of moving parts right now. In my opinion, none of it really helps alts do well in the moment. So if you're patient, choose your battles here, right? Versus becoming a community member and just staying in something for 5 years and hoping it goes up. It doesn't feel to me that it's the environment currently for alts to do well broadly. I will share some charts here that I'm looking at and trading, but broadly, not too much going on. Before I get to those charts, let me mention today's video sponsor, Kraken Pro. Kraken Pro is a complete overhaul of the Kraken trading experience with a one-stop shop for advanced and professional traders. Kraken Pro enables efficient trading execution across multiple markets with a UI that allows for unique optimization tailored to your trading style. You can check out Kraken Pro with the link in the description of this video. And over the years, Kraken has added a substantial number of alts, many of which, even I haven't heard of, and I do this all day long, every day. I always like to look at volume here. Usual suspects at the top, some stables at the top. Bitcoin's usually at the top here unless some alt is doing well. Market broadly down today across the board for the most part. Solana has also been creeping up in volume. As far as ETH, there's a time and a place for ETH, and now is not that time. Now's the time to understand the fundamentals of ETH and why it might do well in a bull market and what the burning mechanism does and how to get into DeFi and all this other stuff. Now is not the time to expect price appreciation, in my opinion. This continues to look like an asset that just does not want to go up. Sitting within this $1,000 range, just kind of a massive avoid for me in the moment. Trade-wise, I really don't care about it unless it's below 1,000 or above 2,000 at the end of the day. And the ETH BTC chart sure is something, ain't it? It has continued to just sell off and make lower highs ever since the merge. It is now below the weekly cloud, approaching a yearly pivot at around 0.53. And no help from RSI whatsoever just yet. No bull divs here. What you're looking for is a weekly lower low in price with a higher low in RSI, or some sort of parabolic puke to the downside, capitulation. Certainly felt like last night somebody got carried off the floor on DeFi. I don't really know what the liquidation picture looked like, but ETH BTC was spiking lower last night. In any event, still more of the same. Not expecting anything bullish out of ETH BTC anytime soon. And it's not like ETH USD is sold off, right? It just hasn't kept up with Bitcoin. And you may continue to see that with the flow imbalance relative to the Bitcoin ETFs coming down the pipe. Link continues to range, continues to hold sideways. If I had to bet on this today, yesterday, 3 months ago, the answer is always going to be the same. This should break up. It's coming off of a 80% downtrend. It's remained sideways for over a year. It continues to test to the top of the range, more so than the bottom of the range, starting to get above resistance on the 3-day cloud, super high zoomed out view. So this looks good, right? Now the question is, what is the better risk reward? Is the better risk reward buying in the range, expecting it to go higher, or waiting at 850, or even jumping in at 9, right? The general problem with crypto on breakout trades is you feel like you're late if you miss the break. Liquidity's poor, so it often goes extremely high, extremely quickly, in this case on a breakout. And then it's nasty on the retrace, and it's just a general mess. So what I like to do when I'm semi-sure, do some nibbling, very small amounts on spot, and then maybe add some juice with leverage or something once you're sure this breaks out. Or even wait for the retrace, the retest after the breakout, back at 850, whatever it is. So still no rush here on Link. Sol looks pretty good as well from a technical perspective. It has made a series of higher lows. If you are a inverted head and shoulders enjoyer of that, which I am, you're looking for a breakout between 34 and 39. But you definitely have to keep in mind the broader ecosystem and markets right now. Everything that I said in the first half of this video. So those expectations will have to adjust your risk, your size, your leverage, right? All that comes into this conversation, it certainly does for me, when I'm thinking, okay, you know, I'm pretty confident this will make an attempt at breaking out. Am I going to bet the farm on this right now? No, I'm not, right? I think it's a good setup. I think it's a good trade. There's a lot of, you know, momentum from the community or whatever on the on its side. Generally not a great time for alts. Caveat, 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 et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, this is a good setup. AAVE is another one I've been watching. Looks basically like the total market cap chart. It is DeFi. So there are a lot of reasons this doesn't actually break up. You know, if anything, this is a descending triangle, which typically breaks down. So definitely keep that in mind as well. But many of these charts, Uni, which has been a disaster, DOT, AVAX, many of the charts that look like this have already broken down. That isn't to say AAVE can't break down in the future. It's just they have broken down. So we'll see. But AAVE looks like one to watch as well if this can break above diagonal resistance. Maybe a little Adam and Eve action. There certainly was a low time frame head and shoulders there. But anyway, just something to watch. Again, if you're trying to be tactical and rotate a basket of altcoin allocation around, right? AAVE, I think, is deserving on the list here. Let's get back to Kraken Pro. We'll go down the list. I don't know anybody who actually trades Ripple. I don't know how you could make any money trading Ripple. It still, you know, look, it's dead money. It's not doing anything. You can say you're excited about XYZ announcement. It's not for me. It's not how I trade. Probably going to be dead money for a long time. And you're probably going to see a lot of charts that look like this, right? Continuous lower lows, making fresh lower lows. These are not charts that I like throwing money at. If you want to catch knives, if you believe in the project, that's your call. Certainly not for me, but immediately within the first 3 seconds of looking at something, I can tell fairly quickly whether or not I'm going to touch this, right? I'd much rather buy strength than weakness. I do not want to catch knives. I'm not here to be a community member. Matic also looking quite weak there. EOS probably the same, right? This is a fresh multi-week low, probably all-time low. And yeah, there'll be people saying, why are you even looking at EOS? Nobody cares. I could say the same thing about any alt anybody cares about, right? It's listed, it's on an exchange. Maybe this plays out as a inverted head and shoulders situation. Sorry, a falling wedge situation. I'm just so on autopilot, but fundamentals tell you what to buy. Technicals tell you when to buy. I don't know any fundamental reason why you'd want to pay attention to EOS here. Certainly a lot of volume on Kraken recently. Link we went over. You know, again, any series of high or low is a win. Eventually this puppy should break out. It's just opportunity cost at this point. You know, you're better off sitting in BTC or getting yield or something like that. DOT has just been runaway freight train dumpster fire. You know, I don't know anybody who actually uses this over ETH products. And if they're using DOT in an ecosystem, they're probably using it on an EVM. You know, you just kind of have to ask yourself, who would be buying this and why right now? Is there any reason? I don't know of a reason why anybody would be. Doge, very much the same. Pure spec, pure penny stock mentality, in my opinion. This probably does break down eventually. Certainly looks like it wants to. It does not look happy. It looks rather angry on the USD side. AVAX had some of that friend tech clone excitement, but basically back down to the previous local low here. Certainly no strength in the AVAX department. Brick, I don't even know what that is. Quite a chart. I'm just going to keep moving on. Definitely not for me. Litecoin has a pretty large multi-year diagonal support, and that doesn't look like it wants to hold. Something else to realize is most of these alts typically do better after Bitcoin's halving, because that's when Bitcoin does best. And we're 6 months away from the halving on Bitcoin side of things. So halving and flows and eyeballs and attention certainly drives the altcoin market more than the Bitcoin market. And we're not really seeing eyeballs and attention anywhere in anything. ADA also continues to go lower. Maybe that acts as a falling wedge eventually. But the question is, you know, do you really want to sit in that for however long and hope it breaks up? XMR doesn't look terrible, continues the range above 170, and you probably negate the messy head and shoulders fractal amalgamation Frankenstein thing that we have here. Doesn't exactly look strong, but certainly looks better than most of the other charts I've looked at here. Let's take a look at Blur, which is a NFT exchange token. Not sure why it's up today, but I think this is the type of chart people look for when they're looking at something like ADA and they're thinking, this is my shot at picking the bottom, right? I'm sure there was some news event or something to bring this higher. So if you're a Blur fan, I would read up on the news for today on the Blur side of things. What else we got here? Tron continues to slowly creep higher. Chart does look good, admittedly. You can't ignore that. The change is not for me. Again, the fundamentals just aren't there. But the chart itself does look decent. Let's check some DeFi coins here. Uni continues to look ugly below that. Support, descending triangle. It doesn't look like there's any strength there. Maker, like I said, probably the past 2 weeks, the trade feels kind of over for me. Trend still looks fine, looks better than most everything, right? But from a setup consolidation perspective, I think this is probably just about done in the moment. Maybe a little bit of a bear div there on the higher high, but probably the strongest looking chart in DeFi, certainly. Let's take a look at Curve. Continues to just range lower. No shocker there. Comp continues to hold in the range. And, as you are flipping through all these alts, it categorically becomes pretty clear, right? Like these ones, these ones over here, probably not going to do anything anytime super soon. Let's put those on the back burner. These 3 or 4 over here are worth paying attention to in the moment. And let's check layer 2 real quick. I don't see anything. There's just not much going on when the alt side of things as we're sort of waiting for Bitcoin to do something in the range here. So we'll stop there for today, but Solana's worth a watch for sure. ETH probably range bound, ETH BTC probably lower. Link range bound for now, but looks like it wants to break up eventually. And for the most part, everything else is just the party's just not where it's at the moment. That's all for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.